Hello and welcome to another Mental Wealth Moves podcast. I'm your host, Casey Dubrovic, psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, board certified. I'm also the owner and operator of Revitalize Clinics and ROHCT Wellness Bar. I'm also the co-founder of Epic Biosciences. Thanks for joining us today. Hello and welcome to another Mental Wealth Moves podcast. I'm your host, Casey Dubrovic, and today we're going to be going over our Wellness Toolbox. So I'm super excited for this episode. I like to tell people no one needs ketamine, no one needs an ego dissolution agent, a million other ways to get to a healthier headspace, and in general, the million other ways is what ROHCT Wellness Bar is all about. This Wellness Toolbox is a really great foundation for you to really put those tools in place. Very actionable, very usable. Let's get right to it. All right. Thanks again for joining. My name is Casey Dubrovic. I'm the owner and operator of Revitalize Clinic and also the owner and visionary behind ROHCT Wellness Bar. Revitalize, optimize, and harmonize clinic and therapeutics. Revitalize, optimize, and harmonize your life at ROHCT Wellness Bar. Woohoo! I'm also the co-founder of Epic Biosciences. Very excited to be part of that venture. More things should be coming out about that relatively soon. And let's dive right into it. Let's talk about the Wellness Toolbox here. So the Wellness Toolbox is really boiled down a bunch of different tools and things that we know really have the capacity to help quite a number of people. And so pretty much everyone really. And so as the owner and visionary behind Revitalize Clinic, I know that and it's not great for business, I like to tell people, no one needs ketamine. No one needs an ego dissolution agent. A million other ways to get to a healthier headspace. And that's what a lot of this is about. That being said, it can really fast track outcomes. It can really help people get unstuck. I've seen, yes, will you get there? Likely. Will it take decades? Perhaps. Can ketamine fast track that and turn years of work into weeks? Absolutely. I've seen it time and time and again. So incredibly valuable. That being said, nothing's a panacea, nothing's a cure-all. Everything should be used, especially really powerful things, as a catalyst for change. And so I really like to go through all of these things. I really like to provide that value so that you can get the very most out of anything that you're doing or not doing. So let's dive right into it. So who am I? My name's Casey Dubrovic. I'm one of the founders of Revitalize Clinic. Incredibly passionate about providing excellent care and providing really life-changing, life-saving, life-healing treatments here at Revitalize. We've got the TMS service now, or the transcranial magnetic stimulation, in addition to the IV ketamine. We can also offer lower cost intramuscular ketamine and much lower cost oral ketamine for those who qualify. We also do intranasal ketamine and Spravato or S-ketamine, which is covered by many insurers if you qualify. And that being said, TMS is also covered by many insurance companies and can be incredibly life-changing. I have a really close friend who says that his life was saved by TMS treatments, and that's really beautiful. I love that. So really about empowerment, about becoming that best version of yourself, really, really impassioned to provide that option for people. And so we really see, this is a lot of what I already talked about. A lot of times people are doing a bunch of stuff on this Wellness Toolbox and they're keeping their head out of water. They're surviving. They aren't thriving, right? I've seen them go down a couple times. I also like the analogy, you're trying to fill up your cup from below. Not very sustainable, right? And so that's where we see like a lot of burnout come in. And so, a lot of the things in this book may be enough to help people really climb out of what they're struggling with: depression, anxiety, substance use disorder, some personality disorders, even some, heavier duty hitters. I don't recommend that you take everything that I'm saying as word for you. We're talking in broad swipes of the paintbrush here. And so you should really be discussing with your psychiatric provider your individual situation. And if I'm your psychiatric provider, you should also discuss your individual situation with me individually. That being said, most of the things in this toolbox are pretty safe and pretty healthy, and everyone could really benefit. So there's not really that much in here that's activating or unsafe for people. And so there's really 9 crucial components of a very fundamentally healthy lifestyle. And those are sleep, sunlight, exercise and movement, stress regulation and reduction, relationships and quality of those relationships, nutrition, oral and digestive health, spiritual connectivity, and purposeful living. So let's dive into those 9 components together, really step by step, so that you can really work on becoming the best version of yourself. We're all on a wellness journey, no such thing as a wellness destination. Obviously we're all trying to become slightly better versions of ourselves than we were yesterday. I like to zoom out, think of the 5-year Casey stock market graph. Looks great, right? You zoom out, it's an onward and upward. Zoom in, the days and the weeks, and yeah, we all got bumps in the road. And so that's real life, that's true. Everything in moderation, including moderation. Any changes that you do decide to make based on this talk or anything else should be slow and steady. Slow and steady wins the race. You crash on a diet, you crash off a diet. So anything you decide to take as an action, you should commit to it and try to make it a real lifestyle shift. So sleep, it's not just a period of rest. Really, it's a critical foundation for physical, mental, and spiritual health. So it's the time that your body actually takes what it's happened during the day and integrates it. It also is for repair work, muscle repair, also for brain consolidation of memories, and hormones are really come alive to really regulate kind of that healing and growth, and again, that integration. Adults should really try to get 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night. Everyone's really different on a sleep perspective. Some people need as little as, right around 4 hours, and some people need as many as 12 hours. And so there's really a biological component to that. And so you should do what works for you. Talk to a sleep doc. If there is some concern for possible sleep apnea, maybe you have a bed partner who tells you that you are sleeping poorly, then you should possibly consider getting what's called a sleep study. And so we know sleep apnea, obstructive sleep apnea, happens to actually quite a few people. It's where your soft palate collapses, and that happens to a large number of people. It also increases incidence with obesity. And so if you hear snoring and like kind of a jarring, then there's possibly a component of obstructive sleep apnea there. There's also central sleep apnea, which occurs more frequently at higher elevations. And so those are just periods of apnea, periods of without breath. And so those are worth diving into, worth doing a sleep study, and worth kind of navigating those waters. And so there's lots of tools to help with that. There's strengthening your soft palate is a real quick and easy one. Moving to a lower elevation, maybe quicker, not necessarily easier. For the central, you really need a sleep study to determine what kind of sleep apnea you do have. If you have sleep apnea, there's other things too regards to sleep that may look like that. And so we're seeing a specialist to dive deeper into that. Really, sleep is the foundation of everything. If you aren't getting quality sleep, you can't do any restoring, you can't do any healing, you can't do any growth. And so our guidance for tips: maintain a regular sleep schedule, even on weekends. So you should be going to sleep at the same time and waking up at the same time 7 days a week, really. Any sort of breaks in that is going to take longer to come back from. So being mindful of that. Again, that being said, I like to say everything in moderation, including moderation. So if there's a real fun event that you're going to, just know that you're going to pay the repercussions of it, and that you should make the most out of it. And so another thing that can be incredibly helpful: create a relaxing bedtime routine to let your body know, to let your autonomic nervous system, your parasympathetic nervous system know that it's time for you to chill out. It's time for you to go to sleep. Ensure your sleeping environment is quiet and dark and a comfortable temperature. And you really should make your bed your place for sleep and sex. You shouldn't be watching TV. You shouldn't be playing with your phone. You shouldn't be doing anything that promotes wakefulness if you have difficulty sleeping. If you don't have difficulty sleeping, then you don't need to concentrate on this. If you're getting 7 to 9 hours of quality rest and you feel awake and rested during the day, you probably don't need to double down on those strategies. If you are having, a lot of sleep issues, then those are things that can be incredibly helpful for people. Another thing to do is really limit your exposure to screens and blue light before bedtime. Real quick fix for a lot of people is put on blue light filtering glasses right when dusk hits, right when the sun's going down, and don't take them off until you turn the lights off and you're actually going to sleep. And that can really mitigate a lot of that melatonin sapping that gets stolen away from us as those blue lights hit. Even with all the blue light filtering, you're still hitting a lot of blue light in any sort of digital device connection, or artificial lighting for that matter. The soft white's better than the daylight for the bulbs, and none of them are perfect. Fire is really perfect. We know that 90 to 95% of sleep-wake disorders, even higher depending on the literature that you're looking at, will go away if you spend 5 days out in the woods with no artificial lighting. And so no headlamps, no anything, just fire, the sun, and going to sleep and waking up at normal times. And so we know that most sleep-wake disorders will go away, and we know that most sleep-wake disorders are at least potentiated by our environment. And so let's talk about sunlight. Sunlight is the natural mood booster. And so we know some benefits of sunlight. Sunlight is essential for vitamin D synthesis, which plays a crucial role in bone health, immune function, and mental well-being. Mental wealth, all right? It's a great mental wealth move. Regular sun exposure can also help regulate your sleep-wake cycle, improving your sleep quality and mood. So that low-angle sun in particular is really kind of the highest benefit. And so you want to get 10 to 30 minutes of sunlight exposure daily, depending on your skin sensitivity. You can go longer or less long. Prioritize dawn and dusk, that low angle sun coming at you. There's a reason those sunsets and sunrises are so pretty. You should really take the time to hang out during them and really try to do your best to assimilate that time, disconnect from other things, hang out with loved ones, talk to loved ones, and, look out there, enjoy that view. It's there on purpose, and it really helps regulate mood, and it helps upregulate melatonin production, and also many other positive neurotransmitters. Super cool stuff. Protect your skin with sunscreen or clothing during extended exposure. There's the dose makes the medicine, the dose makes the poison. It comes with sun as well. And so, there's a lot of concern and talk about, sunblocks that have other hormone modulating components in them. And so being aware of that, keep your eye on the literature in regards to what's healthy and what's not healthy. We know that bad blistering sunburns can really high indication of having skin cancer later in life, so be aware of that. If you live in a region with limited sunlight, you're in one of those areas where it's dark for weeks or months at a time, you really want to consider some vitamin D supplementation. Vitamin D is incredibly powerful, and so we know sunlight and moonlight incredibly powerful. Let's move on to exercise and movement. So staying active. We know movement is medicine. Physical activity is vital for maintaining a healthy weight, reducing the risk of chronic diseases, and really enhancing that mental health and wealth. Doesn't have to be intense workouts, just regular, moderate activity like walking, cycling, or yoga have significant benefits. And so I'm a big proponent of walking. Movement is medicine. So just being outside and walking, if you're a multitasker, you can listen to an audiobook, and get things done, or you can do audio journaling. And just being present is pretty powerful. So I say presence is the best present you can give anyone. Incorporating exercise into your daily routine. Find activities you enjoy to make exercise feel like less of a chore. So if it's play, getting back into that play state, that's super powerful. I had a client say it once at the Ketamine clinic: we're born remembering, we forget along the way, and our job is to remember again. And so a big proponent of that neuroplasticity that occurs with the ketamine treatments and with all aspects of kind of human connection and development to some extent. really puts your brain back into that play state and that ability to learn and to just become slightly better version of yourself. So super cool stuff when it comes to all that. Incorporate movement into your daily life, making it easier to make good decisions. So the James Clear Atomic Habits guy, he talks about, just making it convenient and easy to make good decisions. So, really, if you're wanting to go for a walk or a workout in the morning, put your workout stuff out the night before. Really prepare yourself. There's also accountability partners, so that's why it could be good to join a gym where you know that you're signed up for a class that you're going to go to. It can be quite helpful. The movement is medicine again. So trying to really get movement into your daily life, make it a priority. If it feels like a chore, it probably is. So consider changing what that movement looks like for you. And, I would say an exercise program, hardest thing in the world to get started and the easiest thing in the world to fall off of. And so really, again, trying that slow and steady movements to really get to that place of health and wellness for yourself. So moving on to stress regulation. So really understanding stress. So stress is a inevitable part of life, and it can be incredibly helpful. It teaches us things. Also, chronic stress can have very detrimental effects on your health and mental wellness. So learning how to manage stress is crucial for mental well-being and physical health. So some strategies for managing stress, really that practicing that mindfulness and meditation really can cultivate a chronic sense of calm in your life. There was a cool study where they did, they took an ADHD cohort and led them through, I think it was a 17-minute guided meditation. And then they actually watched for 90 days that their focus and attention was improved across the board. Super cool. Number two, another way to strategy for managing stress. So try to develop those healthy coping strategies, such as hobbies, talking to friends, dance, music, artwork. Really trying to put more healthy coping strategies on top of your toolbox, things that work for you, that you enjoy, and that you can go to easily. Three, really try to learn to recognize stressors and develop plans to address them or mitigate their impact. I'm not a huge proponent of daily medications. That being said, I think that daily medications have their place if there's something about your situation that you're unable to change or unwilling to change, and that may be the people in your life, and that may be the environment. To some extent, there's certain things about our society that are really challenging to change. I always say intelligence and empathy are a deadly combination. And so when you understand things at an intelligent and empathic, emotionally invested level, it can be quite challenging, and you're literally carrying the weight of the world on your back. And so that being said, there's ways to move forward from that, and it's a thing that you can integrate and still continue to be empathic and still be able to be intelligent and empathic without having the weight of the world on your back. So I think that that's super powerful to recognize and be able to grow from. And I go deeper in that on another talk that I have about trauma and where that's coming from. So let's move on to relationships and the quality of those relationships. Really nurturing connections is what this is about. So we know the role of relationships with family, with friends, with oneself is really essential for emotional support and happiness. We're all social creatures at heart. Positive interactions can really reduce stress and increase feelings of belonging and purpose. There's some talk about an introverted extrovert, and I would argue that if in large part you're feeling like that, or you identify as that, or someone in your life identifies as that it isn't necessarily they're an introverted extrovert. It's that they feel like they have to perform for the people that they're hanging out with to some extent. They don't feel like they can be their real selves around people, and so they have to put on this mask even more so than most of us do. And that's exhausting. You can't do that. You can't do that for an extended period without having some sort of burnout with that. enhancing your relationships. So really invest time and energy in relationships that makes you feel supported and valued. I like to think of relationships in regards to deposits and withdrawals. And I think some of that came out of Curtis Jackson's book, 50 Cent's book, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. Really, his book, I think, overlaps a lot with 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he might have talked, Stephen Covey might have talked about that as well in regards to deposits and withdrawals with any sort of relationship. And so if you're in a relationship that's nothing but withdrawals, you might want to try to think about mitigating that relationship, at least for the time being, until you're in a more full place. Trying to fill up your cup from below for a long time, it's just not sustainable. You really need to take that time and energy to really write that cup and really fill that up. So some other tactics to enhance your relationships. So really practice active listening and open communication to strengthen connections. And so if you're actively listening to someone, you're going to be curious, and being curious is where it all comes from. Getting back to that play state. So being curious and really wanting to know someone will facilitate connectiveness naturally. And so if you really want to know about someone and their purpose and asking them honest and open questions about that. And I saw a meme the other day, and it was like a brick and a sponge. And the brick was like listening to be prepared to talk for your next talking point. And, obviously it's not very absorbing. It's just kind of bouncing off of it. And then the sponge, is very absorbent and getting to learn things. Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights, he talked about, he was in Africa and he was over listening to this argument, as he perceived it, between 2 individuals. And he kind of butted in and offered his viewpoint of the situation to stand up for someone. And then, they both kind of shut him up, and they were like, hey, we aren't trying to prove one person right. We're trying to get the other person to understand our perspective. And I really like that. I think that's beautiful. Another thing I'd like to say to enhance relationships with others and yourself is really remember what's good for you is good for the universe. So really practice that self-love and self-care. Your relationships with yourself really sets the tone for your relationships with other people. I like to think of that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where the bottom is safety and security, and then at the top comes self-actualization. And I like to flip that pyramid. And then I think once actually you're self-actualized, then the first one is really true self-love, love for yourself, for everything you bring to the table. I like to say no regrets, not even one letter. Everything that you did got you here. And so, yay, good job, me, pat myself on the back. And then after you truly love yourself, only then can you really love the people in your life. So that's like all the people that you surround yourself with. You can love yourself, and then you can have true love for other people in your life. And then after that comes true love for everyone and everything, for all the stuff they bring. And it's a moving target. I like to say there's no journey destination. It's a journey of wellness. I think I talked about that already. Really, again, what's good for you is good for the universe, and recognizing that. So on to nutrition, fueling your body and your mind. So eating for health, and so we know a balanced diet provides the nutrients for your body that it needs to function optimally. Focus on whole foods such as fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and whole grains to support your health and energy levels. Basically, you want to shop the periphery of the grocery store. So you want to stay away from all the boxed, delicious stuff in the middle. You're going to get the fresh fruits and vegetables, lean proteins, non-refined carbohydrates. I'm thinking of my own grocery store that I go to frequently. Safeway and Plaza, I love you. And that being said, you should do what feels right for you. And so some nutritional tips, plan meals ahead of time so that you make healthy eating more convenient. Meal planning is a real thing and can be incredibly helpful. Stay hydrated by drinking plenty of water throughout the day. Really try to limit your processed foods and sugars throughout, like just in general. We know that's the SAD diet, the standard American diet. The processed foods and the heavily dense caloric foods and high protein, or high sugar, not high protein. Some of it is, but it's doubtful. And we know the SAD diet increases inflammation, increases depression, increases anxiety, and decreases focus and attention. Also increases inflammation pretty dramatically. There was a cool meme I saw, I think, on Instagram about like the the ingredients in some kids box cereal in the United States versus the same kids box cereal in Australia, and the amount of ingredients list was like twice as long for the same cereal here in the United States. And so that's a deeper conversation, and I think it's worth mentioning that there's lots of room for improvement in the SAD diet, again, the standard American diet. So yeah, really limit those processed foods, and any refined sugars, refined foods, we know they're terribly bad for you. So be aware of that. Again, everything in moderation, including moderation. I think for your sanity, having a cheat day makes a lot of sense. And so just making that a consistent day or half of a day where you're able to have those foods that you really want to, and it's good to reserve those times for going out with friends. You don't want to be necessarily ostracized for your dietary choices. And so being aware that everything in moderation, including moderation, is a healthy way to go about it, and being kind of that work in progress. So as you continue to do that, you'll likely notice that your portion sizes will get smaller with those less healthy and more activating foods. And by activating, I mean activating inflammation. And so really trying to not have any beverages with refined sugars in them, or any sort of calories in them, really, if you're trying to lose weight in particular. Try to eat with friends and family or loved ones to help build community and connection with those people. Take your time and eat mindfully. That's super important. I think really we don't talk about that enough. If you really take your time, you're going to eat less in large part, and you're going to really enjoy your food more. And so you can just do that and not change anything else, and you'll likely notice your body gets healthier and happier. All right, we'll move on to oral, digestive, and gut health, the core of your well-being. Play on words. Maintaining digestive health. The health of your mouth, stomach, and intestines is crucial for digestion, nutrient absorption, and the immune system. Good oral hygiene and a diet rich in fiber can support your digestive health. So we've got 4 key practices here. 1, brush, floss, and clean your mouth regularly to maintain oral health. If you notice a lot of inflammation coming out on your tongue, then you should consider tongue scraper as well. 2, include prebiotic and probiotic foods in your diet to support gut health and your microbiome development. Kefir and kimchi can be incredibly helpful. You should have 1 kind of cultured food a day, be that yogurt or kefir, kombucha, and really try to work on the diversity of your microbiome, particularly if you've had any sort of antibiotics and with any sort of regularity. We know antibiotics, particularly systemic antibiotics like intravenous or parenteral oral antibiotics, can really cause a lot of damage to your microbiome in that the biodiversity goes way down. And when the biodiversity goes way down, then the more destructive flora come out and can cause and really wreak a lot of havoc. We know that it's really interesting and kind of gross. And we know that fecal transplants are almost curative for Clostridium difficile. And Clostridium difficile is one of the worst kind of infections that we see in the intensive care unit. Whereas this invasive flora that really is just out of balance flora, because C. diff exists in really minuscule numbers in a well-balanced flora, and isn't easily eradicated with antibiotics, while as other more positive and healthful flora flourish until they're exposed to antibiotics, and then they'll die real easily. And then the C. diff, Clostridium difficile, kind of takes much more precedence, and you can see people's guts rupture. You can see them really get wrecked in a lot of ways. And so that being said, you get an injection of a lot of really good flora. Then you see that Clostridium difficile get out of back in a normal balanced state, and so that's where you see a lot of positive movement. The fecal transplants can also be really helpful for depression or anxiety, suicidality. Very interesting stuff. We're just scratching the surface on the science of all of that. Basically, we know there's a huge gut brain, and so trying to cultivate the health of that is incredibly important. And there's lots of ways to do that. And cultured foods are a real fast track way to do that. Also, like real quality probiotics, like the 60 to 90 billion CFU refrigerated ones at your natural food store. Those ones are A-OK. Super awesome. 3, pay attention to your body's signals and seek medical advice for any persistent digestive issues. So, we want to try to not treat everything by just mentating your way out of it, knowing that when there's a real out of balance something, your body will give you those warning signs, and there's lots of ways to get it treated. We have much longer lifespans despite all of the crazy unhealthy things that we do in our society, and in large part that's because of the wonders of modern medicine. And so, not poo-pooing that, I'm a cautious optimist by trade, and I foresee us being on the precipice of a human evolution. The biggest shift in that will be coming from the no because to the yes and. And so that's why I think it's such an exciting time to be in medicine, because we're actually proving past wisdom with science, and our instrumentation is getting fine enough to be able to do that. And so really interesting stuff, like the microbiome, to some extent is the aura. And so that's pretty cool. Number 4 in these key practices, consider an elimination diet where you eliminate a broad spectrum of foods to detoxify, and then slowly introduce them kind of one by one to determine sensitivities. So the Whole30 is real, fast way to do this. Kelly Brogan's got a mind-body reset too. There's lots of ways to do it. I think elimination diets are a real fast track way to do it. I'm not a big proponent of swallowing the spider to catch the fly. So, a lot of times when you're taking a medication on a daily basis, like pantoprazole or some other proton pump inhibitor or something for anti-reflux, like if you always have to take Tums, then that's a warning sign in my mind that there's something kind of pro-inflammatory in your diet. And just because, you're eating exactly the same as someone else in your household and they aren't having dietary digestive issues, it doesn't mean that, you're broken and they aren't. It means that you have a sensitivity that is being activated by something. What it is, I don't know. Elimination diet could very potentially help you determine what that is. We started offering adaptogen drinks at ROHCT Wellness Bar, Revitalize, Optimize, and Harmonize Your Life with ROHCT Wellness Bar. And so really a great place to become the best version of yourself, and really about those million ways to become a slightly better version of yourself. Am I getting repetitive in here? I feel like I'm getting a little repetitive in here. I'm a big proponent of trying to become slightly better than you were yesterday. And there's lots of ways to do that. And I think being around like-minded people, you're a combination of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And that leads us into living on purpose, making a difference, building your community, the power of purpose. And so let's explore, my guidance is to explore some spiritual practices and with some groups that align with your particular belief structures. I think that can be an incredibly valuable thing, and can really help you help yourself. And some volunteer work can be a really valuable thing too. Community events, and it could be as simple as a church group, and as simple as a ecstatic dance group, as a volunteer group. Lots of ways to get there. Really, though, feeling like you're living on purpose by helping others and pursuing meaningful goals can significantly impact your happiness and your sense of fulfillment. And so, that ikigai terminology, where, something you're good at, something you're passionate about, and something that helps the world, the overlap of that Venn diagram, that's where you should be devoting your energy. So consider that. I think a large part where a lot of disability comes in is we're not a strengths-based society. We're not a strengths-based educational system. If we were, we would likely do aptitude testing early on in life to be able to help people cultivate those skills within themselves that naturally occur. in large part by not being a strengths-based society or strengths-based educational system. We say everyone needs to be 10% math, 10% English, 10% science, 10%, and that's not the best way to cultivate strengths, obviously. And so being aware of that and trying to move forward from that is part of the yes and movement. So really try to reflect on what brings you joy and fulfillment and seek ways to incorporate more of those types of activities into your daily life. Consider volunteering or mentoring, which can really provide a sense of purpose and connection to others, particularly those and you see as similar versions of yourselves, that were where you were years ago or decades ago or weeks ago, and being able to slightly help. I like to say the best gift you can give someone is letting them legitimately help you. And so consider that as you're moving forward for yourself. Try to set SMART goals for yourself, so they're specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And so really set those personal and professional goals for yourself that align with your values and your aspirations. And I like to tell people to have something in it 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and 5 years. It can be as simple as a camping trip with your friends or a day hiking trip, and could be as in-depth as learning a foreign language and spending the rest of your life abroad, or anywhere in between. A college degree, a therapist credential, like whatever you want to do, trying to work on attaining that. And that all being said, I think it's way less important attaining the goal as it is becoming the type of person that can attain the goal. If you go run the Boston Marathon and then you go right back to eating Twinkies and binging Netflix all the time, likely you aren't really attaining what you originally sought out as far as long-term shifts for yourself by setting that goal. And so being aware of that and trying to become the person that is healthy enough to be able to run a marathon, I think is a better way to look at things. Again, everything in moderation, including moderation, and slight shifts and slight steps forward are going to add up quicker and be more attainable, sustainable than really crashing off a diet. Comes to all things. Expand your horizons by joining groups. Try to meet with new people and contribute positively to your local community. Consider some volunteer work and working towards finding ways to help others around you. Again, best gift you can give someone is letting them legitimately help you. Try to spend time in nature too. That can really cultivate a deeper sense of connection to the world at large. So, really lots of good, valuable insights in those 9 pillars. And then conclusion, your path to revitalization and optimization and harmonization. So, embarking on a journey to improve your wellness is a commendable and a vital endeavor. By focusing on these 9 components of a healthy lifestyle, you can enhance your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Remember, small, consistent changes often lead to a more significant improvements over the long term in your quality of life. And so ROHCT Wellness Bar and Revitalize Ketamine Clinic are here to support you every step of the way on your path to revitalizing and optimizing and harmonizing. So try to embrace these practices and watch as your life transforms into a richer, more fulfilling daily experience. And remember, these tools outlined in this toolbox are really designed to help you become the best version of yourself. And so really excited for you to take that time and energy that, again, is going to be largely beneficial for you. And remember that we're here to support you. And so you can call our main line at 928-248-8082 if you want to, fast track some results potentially. Not everyone's a great treatment for all of our treatment modalities at Revitalize Ketamine Clinic. That being said, most people could benefit from a consultation to determine if this is something that we could help with potentially. And remember what is good for you is good for the universe. I really want you to take that. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know your time is valuable, and hopefully you gleaned some actionable steps in here. Remember, that's where the integration takes place. If you're just listening to how to do things, really try to expanding your horizons. And with our ketamine treatments, we do offer a full integration program, and that's really where the rubber can hit the road a lot more so, and really take advantage of that neuroplasticity that takes place with that kind of reset. And at ROHCT Wellness Bar, again, you're really a combination of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so if you're at a place where other people are trying to become the best versions of themselves, then that can be incredibly valuable. We're doing some really cool events there. We've got a really cool kind of mindful connection movement dance event happening twice a month starting just this week, so we'd love to see you out at that. We also do the integration group. We're working on lighting up the women's group and men's group, as well as the work in progress group. And I think we're all works in progress, and embracing that and discovering that allows you to really become that best version of yourself. Part of that work in progress group will allow for that mentorship program to take place, and where you're paired with other people that are ideally slightly ahead of you in their wellness journey, so that you can really both work to both become the best versions of yourself. And again, what's good for you is good for the universe. I love that tagline. So take care, make it a great day, and thanks so much for listening this far. Just by listening this far, you've committed and proven your devotion to becoming the best version of yourself, and so I applaud you for that. Pat yourself on the back, like quite literally. I pat myself on the back. And I appreciate you. Thanks so much. Well, thank you for listening all the way through. I really appreciate you. As a thank you, I'd like to offer you a special where you can come into ROHCT Wellness Bar here in Flagstaff or Prescott Valley anytime in the year of 2024 for a special offering of a $9 cold plunge and sauna day pass. Normally close to $50 for those 2 items together. We also have really good deals for 4-packs and monthly memberships. That being said, $9 for your first plunge and sauna, and just use the special secret code of Mental Wealth Moves, and that will get you that $9 deal for cold plunge and sauna. All right. Thanks again for taking the time to listen today about our Wellness Toolbox, and I wish you the very best of days. And remember, it's up to you. Make it a great day, and we appreciate you. Thanks.